Right, legends, just doing a quick audio and visual check. Can everybody hear me? And what chart can you see? And we'll crack on. Can everybody see a Bitcoin chart and is audio clear? Okay, so let's get the necessities out the way with and we'll crack on. See what's happening. Yeah, so there's police going around. So welcome to the weekly Bitcoin update video. Before we start, I just want to say thanks to our sponsor PrimeXBT for making this happen. You can show them some appreciation by signing up to their platform using the link in the description. If you use the code TraderSZ, you'll also get a 50% deposit bonus. Finally, just a reminder that nothing discussed today constitutes financial advice, and you should always do your own research before doing any kind of investing or trading. Okay, so let's get going. So what I'm going to do is, we've got a new month starting, okay? We'll go over the setups from last week, okay? Recap that, then go over the plans for the week ahead. So, Bitcoin, what did we do? So let's start with last week. So, same levels. None of these levels have been removed or added, okay? Same exact thing. So, last week, we were around here, okay? And I said at that point, I was this key level, which is our macro, I call it my macro range high, okay, on the weekly, because that's the level that's been capping the market, as you can see. Okay, I mean, if I drag this to the left, I can be considered a deviation of this level, here, okay, so we've done that. So if you're new to this, you can catch up on, the streams before. And we were down here at the time, and I said, this level, each time it comes here, has given us a trade setup, hasn't it? Exact same level. Now, there's loads of trade setups you can take, scalps from here to there, from there to there. I'm going over the setups that I see crystal clear. There's many setups I don't take. I only take what I ask myself, what setup would give me high confidence that I can put some size behind it, okay? There's lots of other stuff, that could line up, whatever you do. But my job is to just point out clear setups, make as you wish from it, if it adds confluence or basically if it helps you learn, maybe you can take one or two things from the sessions I do. So the sessions I do is mainly because, it can be learning as well. Exactly how I draw the level, why is that level significant, and how do we use that to take action. So let's quickly recap. Each time it's come to that level, gonna be a sell-off, main setups each week, okay, exact same level here. So last week it was here, and I said, you know what, we've had too many touches here. Usually when that happens, there's two scenarios. One, if I'm bullish, if it consolidates here, clean break above, give me a trigger, that would be my long, to take out these stops into here and second targets here. What did we do to start the week? We traded up, okay, it was a fast move up. I want to see a retest here. I didn't get that. I said, okay, may not get that. Then I said, okay, let me see how price behaves around that level. There was no trigger here. And even if you consider this the trigger, okay, the moment it gets back below here, you cut the trade, okay? As soon as I saw the market get back below here, what did it show me? Deviation. So that's that key daily pivot. Deviation, exact same thing happened. So that was a short trigger there. Whether you took that or not, it doesn't matter. So I said, as each level drops, okay, we've got, different scenarios. So if I wasn't comfortable there, what was the next level? It was this daily level, wasn't it? Here. So I said, if it gets back below that, shit, that's got too much girth on that. If it gets back below here, then we look for the trade setup there. Exactly the same level. And if you weren't comfortable there, well, you got the next trade set level to hinge your trade around, which was here. Now, this was a 1 minute time frame, and I'll explain how I took this trade as well, okay? And then if you weren't comfortable there, you had here. Where was the ultimate target? As long as that target hadn't been hit, okay, these short setups that I was looking for were valid. So the ultimate target was this high here, wasn't it? So take out these stops, the main target, any extended target will be this region here. Okay, so that's done now. Okay, let me quickly go over the 1 minute entry technique. Okay, it's a little thing I use that helps me anyway. So Bitcoin is a really aggressive market in the sense where when it sells off, sometimes it just doesn't give you the chance, does it? We could have just had a, although I planned the trade to take it below here, it just goes. So one thing I do is, when I said a break of this level, well, one can consider, well, it's broken it here. But there's no trigger here. Why? Because I always say I want a clean break. Now, in this case, we didn't get what I wanted to, like here. How do we approach this? With this, you got to look back and say, okay, this level here, how many times have we retested it? I mean, just on this screen alone, you can see it once, twice, down here, and then the new week when it started here, and we can consider that as well, okay? That says to me the next break is going to be my trigger, because the narrative's been set, everything's been set by this happening, the deviation happening, running, run these stops here, I'm still getting used to this pen tool, so bear with me. Main one was running these stops here. So this is an aggressive technique I use when the market's really fast like this, and I only do this, okay, when I've got either clear invalidation, okay, or this level has been tested multiple times. So as you know, I mean, most of you should already know, if a level gets tested many times, the next time it's going to go, there's a good probability it's going to break. Now we had a nice stop run here, okay. Now at this point, if I enter, where would my validation be? Probably above here. But if I said, you know what, I want more probability in my favor, then see this here, on the 1 minute you can see that we had a break of it. As soon as it closed below here, the main thing for me was invalidation was set all the way back here, okay? Invalidation was set by running these highs. Me entering here was just an excuse to enter. I wanted to see the level break, because if I entered here, I didn't know what if it does this. But the moment this level broke, you can see on the 1 minute, you got a retest, okay? So I'm going over this example specifically because if you're in future, when you get this happen and you've got a clear target in mind, you don't miss out. There you got it. That close was enough for me. If you want further confirmation, you get the retest there, but you got to be really quick, and it went straight to that target. So at that point, my hard invalidations here because it's a choppy market, but if it was to do this and get back above and hold, I would have cut it. Does that make sense? So it's just recapping quickly before I get to the main stuff. Is everybody clear with that? So that's an entry technique I use, and things have to line up. For example's sake, invalidation level was set based on this key level holding. The consolidation at that key level said to me, okay, we're not willing to get above. All I need to see is a breakout. That's a range. That's a breakout to the range. I chase it there, okay? I got a clear invalidation level, clear target, which was here, and we got a bounce there. And then after that, we had these targets. So everybody clear before I go? Before I move forward? Okay. So save your question till the end, okay? Main questions. But I just want to make sure everybody's clear with this, okay? At the end, we'll have 5 minutes or so for questions, so you can ask whatever you want then. So, okay, that's done. So now, what do we do now, is the question, okay? If you remember from the first session, okay, we had these quarterly levels, okay? So let's go back. When I was drawing these levels up, okay? These green levels, okay, they're a bit faint, okay, but I'm sure you guys can see it. This quarterly level here, that quarterly level there, and that quarterly level there, okay? So, having that in mind, remember when I said from the first session, market's always moving within some sort of range. It may look like a trend move, but if you've got the right levels drawn, you'll know. For example's sake, when we were trading here, what was it? We were stuck within these two quarterly levels, weren't we? When we deviated back above this quarterly level, okay, that's quarterly support. Because there's a resistance there. The next objective would have been there. So if we get back below this quarterly level, okay, that says to me that we're working back within here now. Now, does that mean that that's going to be my target? It is going to be an objective, but I'm not going to say it's going to go towards there. But it says to me that that's a deviation then. And the significant thing behind this, what level is, the fact that we're coming back off of this key level here, okay? Now at this point, I don't care what my bias is, okay? If you've recently watched my videos, I have a higher time frame level, okay? But am I speaking too fast? Sorry, this is how I normally speak. Each video, if you know me long enough, I speak that fast. The key thing for me is this level here that puts me off. Like, until we've cleared that level, I'll try to slow it down. Until we've cleared that level, that's when I can say we're on for these highs here. So again, these quarterly levels, you can see were objectives here. When it deviated here, got back above, objective there. When it deviated back above here, here, okay? And once it did this little deviation, where did it go? Back down towards here. Is there any reason why we can't go? No, there's not. I mean, for me personally, what I would like to see is, I mean, I am macro bullish, I am very bullish, but this is trading, emotions aside. What would be the ideal scenario would be, for example, when this was happening here, I'm building up, I'm saying all this because it builds up a picture as to why I'm saying what I am, okay? So this is like everybody seems to think, oh, consolidation, retest higher. What does market normally do? Squeezes hard, Bitcoin especially. So I'm thinking, if I'm going to be macro bullish, and this level is going to have significance behind it when I mention it in a minute, is ideal scenario for me would be smash this level and then get back above. At that point, if it does that, I think then we start going towards new highs. That would be the ideal scenario. And if I wasn't comfortable there, then down there, down there. Okay, so basically, let's go back to the point now. So, but coming back to the point, we're right at that quarterly level now. And also, where was our target here? So that's showing me an overlap of levels. One, it was the range high here. We rallied, that was the first high. Capping the market there, capping the market there. A bit down here, and then it broke through. And now it's capping it to the downside. So there's two things. If it's going to go lower, there's two things that can happen in the market, okay? Let's go over them. And then now it comes to our planning the situation. One is, this is for a bearish bias, okay? If I'm looking for downside objective. One is, there's no reason why, oopsie daisy, 1 second. There's no reason why we can't do something like this and then sell off, okay? The other one is, if it's a really weak market, it'll consolidate and go down here. Now, which one does it do, okay? I don't know. This is where the levels come in. So I can say, oh, that's a level. Okay, but if it doesn't do that, am I just going to sit there and wait for that? No, I'm going to take action. So I have two plans. One is a pullback plan. One is a trend continuation plan. And it all comes down to this level now. So let's go over historically what's happened. It deviates that level. As soon as it gets back below it, when it finds resistance there, here. So if it was to break below this level, where would the next logical target be? Towards here, wouldn't it? Just so happens that level is when it rallied, that's that daily high here. And you see me post a chart on Twitter earlier. We'll get to the new stuff earlier. So level to level, no bias in mind. If it breaks this level, I'm going to be aiming for here now. Let's zoom in now for trigger. What do I need to see? So for trigger, okay, for that setup, what I want to see is, well, this isn't enough. Okay, spiked it back above, just like here. So what I want to see is this is where we refine the levels a bit and say, okay, what was the key level that you can't break here? And the key level for this is, here's low here, there. And then I'll show you how before I said I look at different ways or different styles as to build confluence, okay? So you can see that's failing it. So using basic SR, my range, now I start drawing my ranges in, okay, for a lower time frame. We've got that key level that's capping the market. So if it gets back below here, not only is it a break below that daily range high, it's also a break below the quarterly level. So you see how they overlap. I get a region of overlap down, don't I? Okay, so now let's refine it now and look for my triggers. So one trigger is, well, let's neaten the chart. Well, what's the range high? That's capping the market, which comes in line with that daily high there. And then to the downside, the initial low, that's the range low. So clear-cut trigger would be, where's the next magnet for price? Looking at the daily, I'm sure I should have drawn it already. Bear with me. The next magnet for price for me is going to be down here. So that's the next magnet. Ultimately, if it gets back below that, we'll get to that then. So the next target for me is going to be, or how I'm going to play, is going to be working towards here. But what will be my trigger? If it makes a break below here, not a spike, okay, clean break below here, then that's going to be my trigger towards there. Is that clear? So what's that said? Consolidation. What does consolidation lead to? Expansion. A break of key support would mean trigger towards there, high probability target. Why is that a high probability target? It's not just this consolidation here, okay? It's all the way back to the key level, which is here. Just like to the upside, we had that key level. This is the next key level to the downside. And if we look the significance of this level, okay, how significant was it here? Well, if you look, let's go down to the H1, okay? Look how it played out here. So every time we deviate to go back below it, big sell-off. consolidation, sell-off. You can see how that's a significant level. I call that like a mean level, okay? It always come back to that level. So there's no reason why, if we're back within this range, why can't it go towards there? So that's target 1, okay? After that, what would be the next target? Well, working towards the range lows. There's no reason why then we can't go for these lows here and then possibly towards here. Now, why am I saying this a scenario here could be possible? Well, let's go back, okay? I want to show you a clean chart. And all I've done here is mark out the yearly range, okay? This is, 1 second. This is 2020 low, 2020 high, 2020 mid-range, okay? So after the mean level or the 50% of a level, say this was a 5-minute chart, the ideal scenario for a long, okay, it would be something like this, wouldn't it? And then as soon as it gets back above and holds, so there's that level confluences the quarterly levels and the range lows that I've mentioned here. So is that clear? So having said that, if that's my ideal, for all I know, I don't know if it could, you know, go up from here. It could do, but again, I can remove that, worry and say, okay, if I get my trigger here, my next downside is going to be there. Well, what happens every time it gets back below that? It finds resistance there, goes lower. So if it comes down, breaks this level, okay, gives me the break mark structure pattern that was said in the last review. I went over trigger scenario. Then I'll play it from that level towards the next stops. These stops here as the next objective, and the extended targets towards that quarterly level. Then at that point, I'll see what happens. Okay, ideal scenario would be a nice squeeze. Okay, and the moment it gets back above, I think it'll be a rapid long. Okay, that's everybody wiped out, more or less. A lot of people are going to be wiped out. A lot of people seems to think that's a safety net, just like it was thought that this was a safety net, the big drop. Okay, and as soon as it gets back above, deviation back above, it started the bull move. Confirmation was there because that's the consolidation at that level. So say if you did this and then got back above consolidation, then that's me probably be a mega bull all the way back up into these lows. Who knows even there? But we'll deal with that then. For now, I can only map out what I've got to work with. So are those scenarios clear? And the significance of this level being the midpoint of 2020. Okay. So before I continue, is that clear? And then I'll mark out the level to level long scenarios as well. Yep. Okay. So let's continue now and say, okay, what if this is a low? It could be, but there's no reason why not. You could argue, well, resistance has turned support, and that's why I had a target there, because I said I don't know what's going to happen here till we get there. So if you were to ask me, let's clean this chart up, as to what point would I say easy setups, okay? So let's go over the clear setups first. So the clear scenario for me was, I always put in my head, what would I do on a 5-minute chart? For me, it just makes it easier for me, okay? We've got this consolidation here, okay? I'm gonna oops. Let me draw it properly. This consolidation here. Easy scenario would be, well, if this is a deviation, okay? At what point, okay, would I feel confident that the low is in? What would I need to see the low is in, okay? And that does not mean I can't take aim trades along that way. But what would tell me or build my confidence is if it broke above here, held, then I say that's the low in. That's a clear-cut scenario, okay? Starting with the easy point. Everybody clear with that, right? At that point, I'd say that's the target there. Yep. So that would be one strategy I have to the side if that happens. Now, having said that, that means that range low I've just marked out is going to be pivotal. So let's go back and we're going to work in reverse. Then nothing's going to change. The levels are going to be the same, but we're going to work in reverse. So right now, where I'm at, because of how heavy the market's looking, I mean, if I looked at this, I'd probably say I'd be surprised, okay? I mean, I say this because trading, affects a lot. I see this a lot. I'd be surprised as long as on a monthly basis, okay? As long as we stay below around here, because that's the monthly candle here, I reckon this monthly low will be the next objective for price, which lines up with our range lows that I mentioned, okay? Now, at what point would I say, yeah, so I want to say that getting above here, That's going to be a key pivotal level for us, that monthly. Okay, now that monthly line, oopsie daisy, lines up with this level here, which is that level there. So that would say to me that's going to be a magnet for price. So around this region here, I'm not comfortable taking longs because it's looking quite heavy. Okay, I need to see a lot. But at what point I could say, okay, this area is my gray area where I don't take action, and that's fine. I'm very picky with my trades. If I'm not happy, fuck it off. I don't give a shit. But as to what point would I say, so if that's going to be a magnet for price, which area would I like to trade within when it goes back within this? Okay, unless something else unfolds as the week unfolds, I may get something clear. With what I've got to work with, I don't really feel comfortable taking the longs. Let me just zoom in a bit, if it would. That's the range low before we spoke about. That's the range high on the H1. This was the previous consolidation. And once it broke back above, each time it bounced, it came here, it bounced, bounced. Well, if this is the consolidation that's done that, if it gets back above here and holds, then my magnet, then that's going to be a long scenario, level to level play, back towards here. Okay, then, and what level? That's capping the price. So that then takes us towards the scenario I mentioned earlier, where I said this is Bitcoin, it dropped. Is it going to do one of these ones, or is it going to do a pullback? I don't know. So that would be my play towards there. At this point, I'll see, unless it nukes straight through it, that's different. This would be my profit taking. Then I'll see if it gets back above, what am I going to look for? I'm going to look for something like this. So once it got back above, so here, as soon as it reclaimed this level, that's your long towards there, playing this range. And then as soon as it broke back above here, consolidated, and that's your long scenario, back to the magnet, which is here. So if I find the long there, that's going to be my magnet. If it gets back above here, but I'm not comfortable shorting here or long in here. Why? Because that lower high scenario I mentioned, I'm okay with the market telling me if there's going to be deviation back in the range or is it going to be continuation. If it's going to be continuation, this is what I want to see. So consolidate here, get back above, hold. I look for my trigger there. Where's going to be the magnet for price? Back towards that weekly level there. Is that clear? Is that clear? And then if it gets back above here, using the same exact levels, okay, I'll see. Then at that point, that's going to be my long, probably towards there, okay? And then here, and then if it clears that level, back to what I said originally, if we get back above this consolidation cleanly, okay, then swing trade mode, okay? Is everybody clear with that? So I'm not bothered about what it does or, or which direction. I know if it breaks this level, I take action then, long or short. Everybody clear with that? Where's the magnet now? I just went over the magnet now. The setup. So is everybody clear with the long scenario and short scenario and what I need to see? So on the question, so if it does something like this, okay, so if it does something like this, say here, and this is possible low, what would I need to see to get long again? So see this here. So this was the consolidation, then it pushed lower and then consolidated here, and it got back above. I went for longs there and there. So I'm showing you as a fractal because it's just easier to see. This version here, being here, whatever the key level is, okay? If it does this, one other possible scenario, and then if it gets back above here, that's one, but that's longer way away. But is everybody clear, yeah? So regardless of what happens, if it gets back below here, I know I'm targeting towards here as first objective. If it breaks below here, then these lows here, aiming towards here. After that, I'll see what happens. For my longs, with what I've got to work with, okay, I'm not comfortable because I've got to, I think as long as it below, for me, I'll say this is trapped between these two levels. So it could go either way, and I've got no clear view on either side. I'm not ashamed to admit that, I just don't know. Okay, here I don't know. Is this going to be a deviation of this range? I don't know. If it is, let it be. If it does that, gives me what I want to see. Level from there, and then if it's going to continue from there towards there, extended targets, like I said, there and then there. And to the downside, with what I've got to work with, from there towards there, if that breaks, there's no reason why we can't reach the whites. 2020 mid-range, and this would be the ultimate squeeze, and then hopefully we get full on bull there. But we'll see what happens. Okay, so any questions? So that's more or less it. I got to work with, straight to the point. If this happens, then I'm going to do this. Not necessarily a close. A close is one thing, okay. And then I want to see what happens afterwards, okay. So just like here, you know, here, if you remember, we had a close back above this weekly level, okay. Actually, if you look at past reviews, we had a close here, but as soon as it goes back below deviation, we had a close above this. So close is one thing. Then what I want to see is after the close, how it behaves. Last week was a prime example where we closed above it. Step 1. Step 2, how does it behave? Does it give the trigger? It didn't give the trigger. It got back below here, which said that's a deviation. Okay? Does that make sense? So close is just one part of the, say I see a jigsaw piece, a puzzle, one part of it. Second part of it, how does it behave? Okay? Near the villa ground. What do you think is more probable? The bullish? I think there is, but it doesn't matter. Probably, see, if I say bearish, right, people think I'm bearish. I don't care. My main trade was from, you know, down towards here. That's my main trade done now. Now I'm going to see what happens. Is it going to be support for a major push-up, or is it going to be a breakdown? I don't care. At that point, I don't need a bias. All I need to know is my plan. What is my plan? If it breaks this level, I'm targeting here. Then if it breaks that, I'm targeting these lows, and then there. If it goes up, I'm targeting there. So whatever happens, I don't give a shit after that. Okay? Because it's still early in the month, and Bitcoin being Bitcoin, things can just completely change within a day, like a one candle up, one candle down. So it doesn't really matter to me. Okay? There's the CME gap. I don't pay attention to CME gaps. I mean, if you want to use it, no, it doesn't matter to me. CME gaps. Sometimes they get filled, sometimes they don't need to get filled. For me, the way I'm seeing it is because is the CME gap around here? I don't know. The fact that we've been ranging in this range for ages, these price levels have been filled in already. Okay, the gap is there something for people to talk about and get hyped up over. It doesn't make a difference to me. Okay, all I know is if it does this, then I'm gonna do that. Anything else outside of the plan, I don't need to, if I don't need to know it, it doesn't matter. It's just noise. Okay, it doesn't matter. You're saying if he spends a week above, what? That's besides the point. If he spends a week, who knows? Okay, just play it simple. There's the trigger I want to look for there, towards there. If it breaks that, who cares how long it spends? Does that matter? It means nothing. Yeah, I got family that went to Broadway. No, it depends on the situation as well. So just keep it, because see these kind of questions, that's all it's going to do is just add more. For example, say, okay, what would I like for a bullish case? Okay, for a bullish case, okay, what I would like is if it was to do this, okay, and then consolidate here for ages, that would give this time, just like here. If it did this and then got back above, I'd get really bullish like here. And a consolidation would mean that would be great for alts, okay? So if it did this, I would love a consolidation here, and then once it got back above, and that would be me very, very, very bullish on this, okay? So there'll be the inverse Grim Reaper gifts going around. But yeah. Listen, like, Grim Reaper does not mean I'm short. It's just me pissing people off, okay? I'm just doing it with mates, so relax. You know my plan. So if I do that, if I'm gone over here, I'm saying this is my plan, then you think I'm going to switch my plan just over a flipping GIF? Come on, man. Behave. Don't be kids. There's a lot of vaginas out there. Men having vaginas, you know. I need to grow the fuck up. But yeah, let's continue. So any last question before I go? I need to wrap it up, okay? Any last questions? If I missed your question, do apologize. I'm getting loads and I can't keep up with the whole chat. But you can check it on my site if you want that. Okay, so I'm gonna go. So before I go, everybody crystal clear with my plan, right? What I need to see to the downside are my targets. What I need to see for the upside are my targets. And that's it, okay? Okay, so I'll catch you guys next week, okay? Please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, you know, I appreciate it. If you want me to continue these videos, likes,